Hey guys, welcome to Eat, Drink, and Be Scary. This is episode 13 with Tonya's super special solo episode. Well, I'm not completely solo. I am here on location in Oklahoma with my brother Josh.
How's it going?
And as our drink part of the show this evening, because we ate earlier and are full, I got a very special bottle of wine. It's a Cabernet by the label Josh, since my brother's name is Josh. So I thought that was very fitting. So we're drinking Josh, talking to Josh, and tonight we are going to be talking about, I don't know, what would you call them? Spiritual encounters?
I guess you could call it that. That'd work.
When did you start seeing things?
First started seeing stuff probably around 4 or 5. I started seeing things.
Seriously, that young? That's scary.
That's when I started seeing those black figured spirit. I'm not for sure exactly what it's called, but it was like these tall black figures that would just show up randomly and I'd see them. I remember the first time I saw one, I was on our stairwell playing and I looked up and it was standing at the top of the stairs looking at me. I remember just being freaked out and then running downstairs, and that was the first time I ran into any kind of spirit. Then I remember later on, it was probably a year after that, I was down at the bottom of the stairs playing with my friend. He was at the end of the hallway, and I remember my dad, he was over at his computer desk, my mom was in the kitchen, and I'm sitting there playing, and I start hearing something on the stairwell, and I look up, and I started seeing this hand coming up over this, like the little banister coming down. I saw one finger at a time popping up. It wasn't like a human hand, it had like these claws on it. The hand started moving down and I started panicking because I was trying to look over to the side and yell for my friend. I turned around and I saw my mom in the kitchen washing dishes, and I'm trying to scream, but my mouth is open and I'm trying to scream as loud as I can, but nothing's coming out, and I'm panicking, and because the thing's right about to come around the corner. That's why I started seeing the figure come around, and then that's when my friend popped over in front of me. As soon as he did, it's like the thing disappeared and I was able to start talking again. I remember just being so panicked and I didn't know what to do or like what to say to anyone.
So what did the thing look like?
It was just this thing. It was like this short like creature. It was like, I don't know how.
Is it the same one that you saw the first time?
No, it was something totally different. Now, like, people have illustrations of like some crazy mutant demon thing. It was like that. But I didn't really get to see I only got to see part of it, because when it started coming around the corner, that's when it was Rashad. You remember Rashad?
Yeah, I remember Rashad.
And that's what he moved in front of me, and that's what I quit seeing it, and it went away. I knew it was like a demon spirit, because I'd say you could sense it, what it was, because I've always been sensitive to like knowing what is around me, and I knew what that was as soon as I saw it start coming down the stairs.
What was the first thing that you saw? You said it was like the tall black thing. You said you've seen it multiple times.
Yeah, I've seen that one all throughout my life multiple times, because it just randomly shows up.
What does it look like?
It's a dark figure. It's almost kind of translucent, but you can see eyes. And that's like the one thing it just pops out like you're staring at is these eyes. Most of the time it stands up around 8 to 10 feet tall, roughly, when you see it. And I've seen it like just driving down the street before. And I saw a figure on the side of the road by the stoplight, and I was wondering what it was, because I was like, that is a gigantic man. And all of a sudden, next thing I knew, the thing jumped out and flew over my windshield. And when it went over my windshield, the whole windshield just went black, and all you saw was these eyes real quick, and then it went over, and everything was back to normal.
Well, was there someone else in the car with you when that happened?
No.
Or was that, I thought I remembered you saying that happens at some point with someone else in the car.
I don't think I ever had anyone in the car with me. Most of the time when these things came to me, it was...
Sorry, that was... Josh's dog is sitting right in between us, so no one was farting. That was the dog grunting. My apologies. So if there's any more weird noises, it's not a ghost or flatulence. It's probably just a dog.
Every time I had encounters with stuff, I was by myself. There was other times I was with one of my other buddies, he was real sensitive that we'd be in a room and we'd be sitting there, and next thing you know, we'd both look at each other because we're like, did you just feel that come in the room? And we knew something had just entered the room with us and that it was inside the room. It's like we could both feel it at the exact same time. It's like, it's not coincidence when it's like the exact moment you just both stare at each other and it's like, oh crap, there's someone here with us.
Did you guys ever see something at the same time or just sense it?
His house, it used to be an old retirement home, and there had been multiple people that died in that house. There was always weird stuff going on in there. I remember one time we were sitting out in his Jeep, we were sitting there talking, and we both look up inside this window because it was this one room. Every time we went up in that room, like we would walk backwards out of the room because it felt like someone was like right on top of you whenever you were up in that room. And we would always walk backwards. It freaked us out. And we were like in our 20s, and we're sitting there terrified. Of, like, we'd turn the lights off, and you're just sitting there, and you're like, you feel this presence on you. And there was always weird stuff, like noises happening up there. When we're out there in the Jeep and we're talking, we look up, and we both saw it. There was a kid staring at us in that window. And it was like super creepy. Me and him, we panicked. We jumped out of the Jeep and ran down the street. We're like, we just gotta get away from the house. We're like, that freaked us out. And like, we went back and we were looking around, and we could feel something was at the house. We didn't know what to do. We're just like, he's like, I don't want to go back in my home. He's like, I'm afraid. He's like, my parents are in the house with this thing right now. What do we do? And he's like, I don't want to wake him up and sound like we're like crazy. We just saw something, and then we're both feeling something that is at the house. We were doing construction on the house, and we had pulled out this board, and there was this weird hole about the size of you could fit a body in, and it looked like old blood stains pouring out of the thing, and out of the room that had it was freaky to go in. And this, like, we found this out like months after all this stuff been happening. It's like we pulled that board out, and we're like, and because there was scratch marks inside the wood, and we're like, this is weird.
So you have experienced some stuff with other people, like, because I know we've talked about, because I've never experienced anything.
Yeah,
I've never seen anything, I've never felt anything, and so I was always fascinated by the stories, but I couldn't ever relate to it. How does that make you feel, like seeing and feeling all this stuff but not having anyone get it? That's
like one of the hardest parts, because I know growing up there was so many times I wanted to talk to mom and dad about it. You don't want to sound like some lunatic, because everyone looks at you like, oh, you're just making up stories, you're some liar. You don't want to get labeled as that. And then, or if other people find out, oh, he sees dead people. You just be the butt of every joke.
Did you ever see good things or positive things, or was it always like negative stuff? It
was always negative.
Oh, that sucks.
I never saw positive things. And I remember trying to talk to Dad stuff. He's kind of like you.
Yeah, he's never experienced it either. So.
He just kind of looks at me like a deer in headlights, like, I don't know what to tell you. It's like, what do you do? It's like, because you're so confused, because I was still young. Because when I got to this point, it was like in high school.
That's really rough, and it's really lonely, I'm sure, just not being able to have anyone understand any of that.
Yeah.
So I remember you telling me one time a story about something that happened to you while you were sleeping. What was that?
Well, that one, I don't know what brought on that whole time. It's like, I remember laying in bed, next thing I know, something rips me straight out of my bed and stands me on my feet, because where my bed was, I had a couch near the end of my bed. It ripped me straight out of my bed to the end of the bed, stood me up, and had me facing this spirit. And it was sitting on the corner of my couch, like up against the wall. And it was just, you could see the outline of this figure, and you could just see the eyes on it. I don't know why, it's always like the eyes that you always see. But it was sitting there just staring at me, and I was, finally when I was kind of like came to and was like, what's going on? I look at it. Because at first, I didn't say anything. I was just kind of looking at it, trying to process what's going on. And I finally asked it. I was like, what do you want? And there for a long pause, it didn't say anything. And it finally said, you. And that's when inside I just started panicking. And I was like, this thing's going to kill me right here. I was like, what does this want? And that's when I kind of walked back over to my bed. I looked at it. I was like, hey, leave me alone. I'm tired. I just need to get some sleep. I lay back down. I pulled my blankets over my head, and I'm just laying there thinking this thing's about to like do something to me and kill me. When I had the blankets over my head, I could feel the thing right on the other side of the blanket, and I'm just sitting there panicking. I'm just like, please go away, please go away, please go away. And finally, it's like the whole presence that was in the room whenever it was in there completely lifted. And that's when I pulled my blanket down, and it was gone. That was one that really kind of stood out to me because something ripping you out of your bed and telling you that it's here for you.
Yeah.
It kind of...
Did it happen more than once, or was that like a one-time thing?
That was only a one-time thing on that.
Sorry, grunty dog.
There was some other stuff that had happened inside that house. Because in that house, I was in the back room, and on the west side of the house there was a window, and on the north side of the house there was 2 windows, and on the east side there was a door that went outside. Where my bed was kind of over on the west side of the wall, and I was laying in bed, and I started hearing a knocking on the window. It just kind of just sounds like someone just tapping it slowly. But these windows, they said about like 9 feet off the ground.
Yeah, they're high. Like from like inside the room, you can like they're just kind of closer to the ceiling, but outside the ground is a lot lower.
Yeah.
And so like it really is like a 9-10 foot reach to the windows.
So for you to sit there and be tapping on the window, you'd have to have a little ladder or something. But I started hearing that tapping on that window, and then I heard a tap on the second window on the north wall, and then the third one, and then the back door. It was like dun 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 dun, and then dun 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 dun. And I was kind of like, that's when I kind of started freaking out. And next thing I know, the knocking got louder and louder. It's like to the point you could hear all the glass like shaking, and like it sounded like it was gonna break all the windows out of all the things, because like it was so loud. It just sounded like they were just pounding on all the glass. And that's whenever I just kind of started panicking. I was like, okay. And then that's when I started feeling, I was like, there's a spirit here, there's something here. And I was like, it's here for me, because I was like, it just was going all around the house, and it just felt like an earthquake in the house. But the next day, I remember I asked Mom, I was like, did you guys hear anything from them? They said no. And I'm in the back room. It feels like a freight train running through that place.
How old were you when all that stuff happened?
I think I was early 20s. And during that time, that's when that shadowy figure, I started seeing that thing a lot more. It started showing up. That figure, it's a totally different feel than any of these other ones I felt.
Why is that one different?
I don't know.
Well, like, do you feel afraid? Do you feel calm? Do you feel nothing?
Most of the time, you don't feel anything. Now, you get that little sense of fear because right when something happens, like it jumps over your windshield. Or I've had the thing jump out in front of my car, and I thought it was a person I hit, but it was just this.
So other than a feeling of being startled, when you see it and you recognize it, because I'm guessing you recognize it,
yeah.
Do you feel anything?
With that one, I don't.
Is it just like you see it, you recognize it, you acknowledge that you recognize it, and the fact that it's just familiar, you just kind of ignore it?
I got to a point, I started seeing spirits so much, I just ignored them. Because it almost became like an everyday thing. It's like, you're just like, oh, whatever. Like that one, when it had pulled me up out of my bed, that's why I was able to just talk to it, because I got to a point that it's like you almost started losing any fear of it. It's just become so old to you. It's like, okay, whatever, what do you want? But deep down, it's like you're still kind of like scared shitless.
Yeah.
But part of you knows it's like, okay, I'm okay. It's like, don't panic. You just learn how to keep yourself calm during the situation.
So are you still seeing stuff?
It's been a few years since I've seen anything.
What's the last thing you remember seeing?
I remember pulling up beside a guy at a stoplight, and as I was pulling up to him, I was like, I could sense something getting closer. And as I got closer to this truck, it started getting so strong. as soon as I pulled up beside him, I was like, I knew he was beside me. I look over at the guy in the truck. When he looked over at me, his eyes were just solid black.
How long ago was that?
That was probably 3 or 4 years ago.
So it's been a while since you saw something.
Yeah, it's like ever since I asked for everything to be taken away from me, that I don't have that gift. That's what most of it all kind of started dying away with that.
So you had all this stuff happening to you pretty frequently and heavily in your early mid-20s?
Yeah.
When did it start dying out? And did it like taper off? Did it just kind of end? What happened?
Well, at first it ended for like a year. I didn't see anything. And then I started seeing little things here and there. And then as I got older, that's why I was like, okay, I'm mature enough, I can handle this. And that's when I kind of started looking at it more, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to handle if I can see things again. But I haven't really seen much. But I still sense stuff all the time. But
what do you sense? Like when you say you sense stuff, what does that mean?
It's like you get around things, you can sense this evil.
Like what is it? Like if physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever, what does that feel like?
Like what do I feel inside?
Yeah.
It depends on like what spirit's around you. Because certain ones, they come around, you can feel rage, fear, like depression, all these different little things. You feel different spirits around. It depends on your surroundings, what people are around you, everything. Because spirits, like, they latch on to people and they bring them with them. Because I've been over at Mom and Dad's house. We had our cousins come over. Something came with them and stayed over in their house. Because after they left, because I felt it whenever they were there. I didn't want to say anything because I was like, okay, everyone's going to think I'm crazy. Once they left, I still felt that same spirit. It stayed in the home. That's what I remember. Mom ended up feeling the same thing.
And I know Mom she's sensitive. She has seen things her entire life. And she has crazy stories, too. I mean, I remember her telling me a story one time. It was when I first moved away. And it was going to be like my first Christmas back. And she was busy getting the house cleaned. And she was back in their bedroom, which is down the hall in the back bedroom from the front door. She said she was in there doing laundry and the dogs were in there. And she heard something in the living room and just heard like click, 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 click. She's like, well, the dogs are in here. I don't know what's going on. So she walked out there and like right by the front door, they have that little thing where they hang all their keys and stuff. And there was a flashlight that was hanging that was just turning off and on and off and on. And she just looked at it and said, I don't have time for this. And it stopped. And then she just went back to doing laundry. So, like, I feel like she has kind of a similar thing where she's just seen and experienced so much stuff throughout her life that it doesn't bother her anymore. But I know she doesn't share a ton of stuff.
And I know I've talked with Mom about some stuff because, like the dark figure that I've seen. Finally, I think I was probably 18 and I sat down with Mom and I explained to her because it had just happened right after I was driving home and that one jumped out over my windshield, blacked out my windshield. That kind of freaked me out there. I was like, because normally it's always just kind of stood by and didn't really interact with me very much. But it was like the first time it ever actually like came at me and interacted with me. And there was a few times after that it had interactions. Because there was times I would be driving down the road and I'd slam my brakes where I'm swerving because you're thinking it's a person, but then you see that it's that figure. And that's why I was like, is this thing going to get me killed or something? Like making me see something that's not there and thinking me. And I was like, that's when I was like, okay, I need to talk to Mom. And after talking with her, I told her what it looked like and everything. And she said that that's the same black figure that she's been seeing all of her life. And then to find out that grandma saw it all of her life. So it's been following our family. No one knew in the family what it is, but it went from grandma to mom to me.
Does she see it anymore?
Mom said she hasn't seen it in a long time.
And you haven't seen it in a long time either.
Yeah, that one, it's been quite a while since I've seen that one.
Just to kind of set a premise for our family, we have a really great family life and great family culture. Both of our parents are still, like, stupidly, ridiculously, happily married. They still flirt, and they've been married almost 40 years. It's one of those relationships that you see, it's like, how is that freaking real? That two people can still be so much in love. So we have a wonderful family base. I'm super, super close with my family. We have a really tight family. We all get along really, really well. So there's not been any weird traumatic things happen to us. No crazy family deaths. No crazy instances. We've had a pretty sweet life.
Yeah.
So it seems interesting. And I mean, like, coming from someone that has never experienced anything, it's like, oh yeah, my brother's nuts. It doesn't make any sense to me because I've never experienced it. My dad's never experienced it. But obviously, I remember growing up hearing stories from my mom, and I didn't know until I was probably late teens, 20s. Like, I might have, like, already moved out of the house when you finally told me that you had been seeing things during your life. And I mean, I understand why, especially as a teenager. It's like, no one wants to think you're crazy.
Yeah.
So you don't bring things up. But it's fascinating that you have experienced so much your entire life. And I have never experienced a single thing. Like, oh yeah, sometimes I get the creepy crawlies when I'm somewhere. Like, there's one of our production companies in Boise. They have this really, really old house that they've turned into their new offices. And when I go up the stairs, 2/3 of the way up the stairs, I always get a chill up my spine. Don't know why. There's no explanation. She wasn't a psychic. I don't remember exactly what she considered herself. But she considered herself very, very sensitive to the spirit world. And she walked through the whole house, and the one spot that I said I feel things, she's like, oh yeah, nothing's here. So obviously it's just maybe the air conditioning blows on me and it gives me the chills. I don't know.
But just because one person experiencing and the other one doesn't
mean it's not there. So I mean, what do you think about that? Having, like, do you think it's something that is passed down through generations? Like, is it inherited, kind of like hair color, eye color, spiritual intuition? Is it a trait that people have? Like, what are your thoughts about it?
I think that a spirit can tag along with a family, and that it'll follow family member to family member. But
you have a spiritual intuition where you don't just see things or hear things, you feel things without seeing them. Like, you're very sensitive to stuff.
Yeah. And
I think that's more than a spirit that follows you. It's like you were kind of saying, it's kind of like a sixth sense. That's hard to say. Sixth sense. Do you think that is an ability or something that you can just, like, turn off and on? Because you asked for it to stop happening and it stopped.
Yeah.
So, like, what are your thoughts about it? Because I mean, I know I've thought about it after hearing your stories, but what do you think about it? Since you're the one that's dealt with it your whole life.
I don't know. It's like, that's one of those things. It's like, a lot of that I've actually tried to just suppress because I was like, I don't want to be the crazy one. I was like, I've never really gone too much into thinking and, like, doing a lot of research on what I saw, because it's just one of those things. It's like it's hard to find anyone to tell about it, because everyone's just going to be like I said, there's blame you and say, hey, he's lying, or he's just wanting attention. And that's like, And then it sucks because like you get offended because like you're looking for help and someone to help you, but everyone just thinks that you're just making it all up. And that's why I just never really looked too much into it when it came to that stuff.
The first time it happened, like, obviously you were a little kid.
Yeah.
Did you tell anyone? Did you say anything?
No, I didn't really say anything because it's one of those things. It's like you don't want to accept the fact that it just happened to you. Like, what are you going to tell someone? And being that young, trying to articulate something to explain what you just saw. Said, "Oh, I saw something crawling down the stairs." Everyone, they just blow it off that it's your imagination.
Yeah, you're just a little kid. You're imagining things.
Yeah.
Do you talk to people about it now? Can you talk to people about it now? Like, if you do, how was that received? Like, what's...
You kind of throw out, like, ask little things about, like, what do you think about this? And try to get where they sit on things. And if they're more open to it, that's when I'll kind of start slowly talking about it and trying to get a feel for it. And just see and then, like, if they're receptive, then I'll tell them about it. But if they're just, like, shut it off, like, oh, no, that's all fake, it's not real, then I'm not going to waste my time trying to explain something to you. Because a lot of people out there, they're interested and they find it fascinating and they want to know about that stuff because they haven't experienced it themselves and they're curious. And then there's other people out there that you want to reach that are like me, and that's why I try to find out, hey, have you experienced this? Because you might be that one person that's going to be their outlet so they can open up and finally get something off their chest that has been bothering them because they've held it in like I did. And that's why I try to help be that person to other people and just be like, hey, how do you feel about this? And hopefully help other people through their situations.
So I think I remember you telling me one time that you were telling a friend of yours about the dark figure, and she started looking it up.
Yeah, I had one of my friends. She was real close because she knew it bothered me a lot because she was one.
Had she ever experienced anything before?
She had experienced like subtle things, just nothing extreme like I had.
You should seriously like reach out to her and find out. I would love to find out because, I mean, if we can share that information, that would be huge. That would be really cool to be like, this is what we're talking about. You should reach out to her. So I have a question. If present day Josh, having experienced all of the things that you've experienced, could go back to the first time that you saw something, or really just like any instance of yourself where you saw something, if you could go back at any point in time to yourself, what would you tell yourself?
Not to be afraid. It's like, stick with it. It's like, you're going to get through this. Talk to people. Be like, you're not the only one that this is happening to. So it's like, reach out to who you can. It's like, you'll find someone that'll be there that'll walk with you side by side through all this. Because it is something that you don't want to go through alone.
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
Yeah.
But I think that'd be my biggest thing, is just try to talk to people. Don't just hold it all in.
What do you think these things are doing? Like, are they trying to talk to you? Are they trying to communicate? Are they just being assholes and just trying to inflict fear? Like, what do you think? Why are these things contacting you? Why are they a part of your life? Why are they there? What do you think is going on? And is it different for each one? It's different
on each one, because you feel a different presence with each one. It's like, because certain ones, you know that they're there for no good. Like, they're there to torment you. And other ones, it's like the shadow. I have no clue what that thing wants. It's just kind of like been there. Because I've called out to the thing, like, what do you want? Just no. Like, some I've called out to them, and I haven't heard anything or had any kind of sign of anything.
So the one that did respond, that pulled you out of your bed, you said, what do you want? And it said you. What do you think that meant? Like, does it want your soul? Does it want your spirit? Does it want you to What does it want to drag you to the depths of hell? Does it want to go out to brunch? Like, what do you think it wants?
That I don't know.
Like, did it just kind of have the hots for you? Thought you were cute.
That's hard. Because I was so terrified at that time that I just wanted to, like, that thing to be gone, because I knew it wasn't there for anything good. It wasn't there just to talk. It was there for some reason that I don't know. I felt like it was there for me for a bad reason.
Other than that communication, have you ever had any that wanted to communicate with you?
No. That I know of.
And other than the one that it said it wanted you, have any other ones tried to communicate with you?
Verbally? No. If they did something else that I just wasn't paying attention to, because like the one knocking on the glass, I don't know what they were trying to get across besides trying to scare the shit out of me. That's about all they did.
So I mean, really, it seems like most of them, a lot of them, the ones that inflict you are just there to torment you for no apparent reason. Is that what it seems like to you? I'm just guessing, like obviously you've experienced a lot more than you're talking about, but the ones that feel like they are directed at you, does it just feel like they're just tormenting you for no reason?
Pretty much. And
the other ones that you said, like, that you could sense or feel that were attached to other people, was it just kind of like you saw the spirit with them and sensed the spirit with them, or did it affect you in any way?
It didn't affect me anyway. It'd be like
seeing a person, but they're walking a dog, so they're kind of attached.
Imagine like if you look at someone in their eyes and you're watching a movie inside their eyes. It's like that. You're sitting there and you see and you feel everything. All the pain, emotion they're feeling inside, you're feeling in you in that moment.
Okay.
And you're feeling the spirit inside of them, what spirits are in, because sometimes it would be multiple spirits inside one person. And it's not just like one. It'll be like a whole. It'd be a whole group of them.
Here's a big question: did you ever sense anything attached to me?
No.
Woo! Good.
Because I've had friends that's one of my friends. I remember we started feeling like, actually it was me and like two other of my friends. We all started feeling the same way, and we were like, okay, it's like, because we're all like really happy-go-lucky people, and we all went through this huge depression all of a sudden, and we were trying to figure out what was going on, and we all like went to school the next day, and we all met up in the hall, and we're like, dude, we had this crazy nightmare, and we all started like telling the nightmare to each other. We all had the exact same dream at the exact same time. We all woke up at the exact same time. And we were kind of like, what was going on? And it was, all of us dreamed it had to deal with the demonic spirit with this girl that we were hanging out with. And that's where we're just like, we all talked, we're like, we need to kind of distance ourselves from this chick.
Well, do you think you all had that dream because you should have helped her? Or was it like a warning, get away?
Well, that's it. You'll hear more about that in the story. So we all decided to, like, we talked about it, like, okay, maybe we're going to distance ourselves a little bit. So we went over to her house, and because she was out with her sister doing something, and her mom, like, we're all real close with her mom. We're like, hey.
Oh my God, you were all really close with her mom in high school. What were you guys doing?
No, she was not like that. But that's it. We all just went over there and we're like, hey, we're going to get some of our stuff out of her room. And that's
Why did you guys have stuff in her room? Were you guys having gangbangs in there?
We tried. No, but we went up to her room to go get our stuff, and like as we were going up the stairs, I started feeling something in the house. I was like, all right. And it was that same feeling I've been getting over the last few days. And I was like, okay. It's like that spirit that's been with us is here in the house. And we open up her bedroom door and we go in there. And first of all, she has this monkey, stuffed animal monkey, hang by the ceiling fan by its neck with this rope. And she has all these things wrote all over the walls. And she had her diary out. Because her mom kind of started freaking out when she went in the room. And in her diary, she had been talking to a demon in her room. And she'd been having conversations with this thing.
Oh, shit.
And it was telling her to do all this bad stuff. And that's when we all panicked because we found out that the thing that was with her had leashed itself onto us.
Oh my God.
Because we noticed it was within like 2 weeks. Like, physically, she started changing. Like, her looks, everything. And that's when we knew something was up. And that's when going to her house and then finding, like, she had books and books of writings to this, from like 2 weeks. Like, of talking to this demon. And she had all these weird things wrote up all over her wall, like, different things it would say to her. And it was just like, it was one of those crazy moments. That's what her mom ended up taking her and getting psychiatric help.
She obviously had a connection with this spiritual being. And then her mom takes her to get psychiatric help. Is she crazy or is she talking to a demon? And does psychiatric help that? So, like, say you opened up to our parents and they were like, oh my God, you are nuts. And they throw you in the loony bin. Do you think that helps you? Or, like, what, like, did that help her? Do you know if that helped her? Did you guys talk to her anymore after that?
No, because she ended up, after that, she tried to commit suicide multiple times because the thing was telling her to kill herself.
Oh.
And all this other stuff. He was trying to get her to kill her and her family, everyone.
Oh, jeez.
And yeah, so that's it. She got locked up.
So, do you think she was mentally unstable, or do you think she was being heavily influenced by a spirit?
She was mentally vulnerable. I know there was a spirit there because, like, I could feel things, and I knew her having some issues in the past. I know that caused things to go south real quick for her.
I am really overwhelmed. Like, I've heard so many of your stories over the years, but I feel like this has been a lot more in depth than we've really ever gotten. So thank you for that. And also, I'm sorry.
Hi.
I get that that's got to be really hard to talk about and just be so blatantly open with.
Yeah, because, you're going to get criticized for it.
Yeah, so I appreciate you being open to all, 12 of our listeners. I really appreciate all of them listening. If we have 12. Thanks, guys. Yeah, this was enlightening and fascinating and a great bonding moment. I love you, bro.
I love you too,
but yeah, seriously, thank you for talking about it, because I know we talk about a lot of stuff on the show, and it's usually funny and silly and dumb and informational, and but I don't think we've had something this intimate yet. So thank you for being a part of it. I really appreciate it. And
no problem.
Hopefully we can have you on the show again if you ever decide to come visit me. And we can talk more about it. We can just actually have you on the show with the rest of the group. I think that would be really fun. I know this has been kind of a long show, but thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions for Josh, feel free to post them onto Eat, Drink, and Be Scary. We have our Facebook and our Instagram and stuff and things. I don't know. I don't handle that stuff. I'm the producer. I look up facts. But yeah, if you have any questions, I would be happy to pass them along and see if he wants to answer them. And thanks to Josh for being on the show, and hope you enjoyed it. Have a wonderful night. Goodbye.